When studying the history of Auschwitz, one of the most horrific places ever created by human hands, it becomes impossible to separate its function and its brutality from the man who ran it, Rudolf Höss. Many Nazis played roles in the Holocaust, but Höss was the individual who oversaw the camp that became the single largest killing center in the entire system. Understanding what he did, why he did it, and how he operated is essential to understanding how Auschwitz transformed from a small detention facility into the deadliest machine of mass murder in modern history. This story is not simply about a cruel man. It is about a system that allowed a man like him to take ideas of destruction and turn them into industrial reality. Rudolf Höss became the commandant of Auschwitz in 1940. At the time, the camp was not yet the vast complex it later became. It was initially built as a concentration camp for Polish political prisoners, part of a broader plan to crush resistance and control the population of occupied Poland. But under Höss, Auschwitz grew rapidly. He expanded it, reorganized it, and redefined its purpose. He was not simply maintaining a facility, he was shaping a machine. He followed orders from above, but he also added his own ideas. He had a talent for organization and an emotional detachment that allowed him to treat mass murder as a technical problem to be solved. This combination is what made him so dangerous. One of the most significant things Höss did was to adopt Zyklon B as the primary method of killing. Before Zyklon B, mass murder in Nazi-occupied territories was carried out primarily by shootings. The Einsatzgruppen killing squads executed hundreds of thousands by lining people up, forcing them to dig their own graves and shooting them. These killings were slow, required large numbers of personnel, and caused severe psychological problems even among the perpetrators. The Nazi leadership wanted something faster, quieter, and more efficient, and Höss helped deliver it. Zyklon B was originally a pesticide used to kill lice. When exposed to air, it released hydrogen cyanide gas, which was lethal when inhaled. Experiments began in Auschwitz in 1941, and Höss quickly realized that this method could kill far more people in far less time. He reported the success to Berlin, and the leadership approved the expansion of gas chamber facilities. Under Höss's command, the camp built larger gas chambers connected to crematoria that could burn bodies continuously day and night. This turned Auschwitz into the central hub for the Nazis' extermination plan. It was not simply that Höss used Zyklon B, it was that he created a system where killing became routine, predictable, and horrifyingly efficient. He treated murder as a logistical task. Auschwitz soon became the place where entire Jewish communities were transported directly to their deaths. Trains arrived daily, carrying men, women, children, the elderly, and the infirm. SS doctors conducted selections on the platform, sending some to forced labor and the majority directly to the gas chambers. Höss supervised these operations with cold precision. He described them later in memoirs written in prison, using language that reflected a disturbing detachment. He spoke of train schedules, loading capacities, cremation numbers, and processing, as though he were running a factory instead of overseeing mass murder. This manner of speaking revealed his mindset. He saw the extermination not as an emotional act, but as administrative work. By 1944, Auschwitz had become the largest killing center in the world. Jews from Hungary were deported in enormous numbers, and during a short period, the camp murdered thousands per day. The crematoria struggled to keep up. Bodies were burned in open pits when the ovens were overwhelmed. The scale was unimaginable. And at the center of this process stood Höss, ensuring that the system ran as expected, adjusting procedures when necessary, and reporting numbers to Berlin. He was not improvising. He was following a plan he helped refine. When the war turned against Germany, Höss was reassigned but returned briefly in 1944 to supervise the Hungarian deportations. Even after he left the commandant position, he remained deeply involved in operations. By the war's final months, he disappeared into the collapsing chaos of the Third Reich. When the war ended in 1945, he understood that he would be hunted. He shaved his mustache, changed his appearance, and took on the name Franz Lang. He worked as a farmer in northern Germany. He lived quietly, pretending to be an ordinary laborer, hoping that his past would be forgotten in the confusion of the war's aftermath. But his past could not be hidden forever. Allied forces, especially the British, were determined to locate key perpetrators of the Holocaust. Investigators tracked down many Nazis using testimonies, documents, and local reports. In Höss's case, the crucial breakthrough came from his own family. The British interrogated his wife Hedwig. At first, she refused to speak. She knew that if she revealed his hiding place, her husband would face death. But the investigators threatened to arrest her and her children if she continued to lie. Faced with the fear of losing her children, she broke and told them where Höss was concealed. The man who arrested Höss was British officer Hans Alexander, a Jewish refugee whose family had fled Germany before the war. When Alexander found him, Höss denied his identity, insisting he was Franz Lang. But Alexander noticed something small yet unmistakable. Höss was wearing his wedding ring. Inside the ring were engraved names, Rudolf and Hedwig. That small detail destroyed his attempt to hide. He was arrested and taken into custody. During interrogation, Höss tried to keep up the lie but eventually admitted who he was. He provided detailed information about the functioning of Auschwitz, including the number of people murdered. His testimony helped investigators understand the system more clearly. At his trial, he claimed he had simply followed orders. He insisted that he had no choice. He argued that resisting orders would have meant death for him. But these excuses did not convince the judges. The evidence against him was overwhelming. He had been not only a follower, but a willing participant, and at times an innovator in mass murder. Höss wrote a memoir while awaiting execution. He described the killings in a disturbingly calm and detached tone. He listed figures, described procedures, and attempted to portray himself as an obedient administrator. But the lack of emotion in his writings was one of the most revealing elements of all. He did not show remorse. He did not express sorrow for the victims. He simply recorded events as though discussing technical production rather than human lives. Historians have since noted that his emotional detachment was part of what allowed him to operate Auschwitz at such a scale. In April 1947, Höss was executed. The decision was made to hang him at Auschwitz itself. The gallows were constructed next to the crematorium, where thousands of bodies had once been burned. The symbolism was deliberate. Höss met his end in the same place he had transformed into a factory of death. His execution was not only a punishment, but a statement. The man who built the deadliest killing center in modern history would die where so many victims had suffered because of his actions. Understanding what made Auschwitz so deadly requires understanding Höss's role. He expanded the facility. He coordinated the gas chambers. He developed the procedures. He ensured the trains arrived on time. He reported to Berlin with precision. He treated human beings as numbers, as units to be processed, as obstacles to be removed. His leadership combined organization, obedience, and emotional detachment. These traits in the hands of someone committed to Nazi ideology resulted in a system capable of killing more people than any other camp. His story raises deeper questions about responsibility, obedience, and the capacity of ordinary individuals to commit extraordinary crimes when placed in certain environments. Höss was not a madman. He was not a chaotic extremist. He was calm, disciplined, and methodical. His cruelty did not come from personal rage, but from ideological conviction and administrative skill. This is what makes his story so disturbing. It shows how mass murder can be committed not only by violent extremists, but by people who treat atrocity as a logistical assignment. Auschwitz was deadly because it was built with purpose. It was expanded with intention. It was refined with experience. And at the center of it all stood Rudolf Höss, a man whose leadership turned ideology into a system of murder that claimed more lives than any other camp in the Nazi network.